Working Interferences is intended for mature audiences. Since the hosts never grew up, someone needs to be the adult.
Welcome to Working Interferences with Lance
and Holly,
the dental advice podcast for the average dentist. Here is Lance
and Holly.
And welcome back to Working Interferences. I am your host, Lance Timmerman.
And I am Holly Timmerman.
And this time, we actually have something different. Now for something different.
Okay, so this needs to be said.
Okay.
They're actually in our living room.
Mm-hmm.
So those people that asked to be interviewed, we still haven't figured out that shit unless you want to come sit in our living room.
Which is entirely acceptable. So, all the way from... Are you from... Can we say from Brighton
He's
now?
from Scotland.
Where would you like to be from?
I'll cope, yeah. Brighton.
Yeah.
I say Brighton.
All
yes.
right. Chris Stafford and his lovely wife, Christina Stafford, are joining us all the way from Brighton.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
So,
thanks for sleeping in our garage.
I was going to say, no one does hospitality quite like the Timmermans. Lovely garage.
Yeah. You know, at least we got rid of all the motor oil. I mean, that was...
We make it work.
Yeah. It's you make do. So, Chris, why are you here?
Well, I'm a Coyce. I've started the Continuum. I booked it 2 years ago, but the world stopped for 2 years, and every time I rescheduled it, everything was shut down. So this was the final time we did it. And it's been great. It's been really good. It's been.
So how long? I mean, I always am curious of what's big in other places, in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
So is Coyce a well-known commodity?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, certainly is. I've seen him speak a couple of times and that sort of thing. But he's, there are around the world, that there's that establishment, there are the big names and that sort of thing. But it's been recommended by more than one person in the UK, and I just thought I'd come, and I haven't regretted it a single bit. It's been great.
Good.
Two long days so far, but it's been it's been really good.
Yeah, he is notorious for starting early.
Yeah.
And
he's notorious
late.
for giving you your money's worth.
Yeah.
That goes without saying. Yeah, I me's a 7 a.m. start. It was 6 o'clock last night. It's 6 o'clock today. There was and it's there's another kind of 3 days to go, but it's no regrets. It's been fantastic.
Perfect. Yeah. I'm glad.
Yeah.
And see, had you come 2 years ago, we most likely would not have gotten to know you any more than he knew you.
Yeah.
And we would have had dinner.
Yes.
You wouldn't have slept in my garage.
No. So there is that.
Well, because we were living about a half hour further out. Even if you were staying, you would have actually had a room.
Well, yeah, you would have been in our house where we actually...
So you guys would have regretted that. Yeah, at least you can kind of keep us out the house.
Yeah. The more the merrier.
There's a method to the madness.
Yeah, we just roll with it.
But it's been worthwhile then so far.
Yeah,
2 days in.
Yeah, I mean,
functional occlusion
and treatment planning. And it's really just it's been it's the evidence around all these things. It's not just that; it's the fact that he spent like half an hour or an hour on whitening yesterday, and I think he spent more time thinking about the whitening gel that he's used than I have in my career to date. So it's been so there's just stuff like that, and there's things about running a practice and coming up with with a vision for it.
Okay.
And he's very proactive in terms of doing that sort of thing. And I think it is the way that with the way things. I don't want to get into. Well, it'd be a long story if it did, but the way things that are going in the UK with dentistry, I think it is the sort of thing that that you could implement 99% of what you're saying. So it's been really good.
So you would recommend someone else from the UK to make that trip?
Anyone,
all right.
Anyone. I mean, or certainly anyone working in general practice. It's and it's not just how to do veneers or how to do big cases and things. There's a lot of things that that I think would be applicable at any part of your career, depending on where you are. Because no, you've done something. You've done some of them as well, haven't you?
Yeah. And it's one of those things that I live down the street.
Yeah,
and
you really do.
And I've not completed the whole curriculum. Part of it is because I did register. My next one I'm taking is in October, and I registered for it like last October or before. I mean, it's hard to get in. That's it's not because the class size is what, isn't it 30
it's 40 odd.
Okay.
I had a look at it, and if I wanted to, the reason half the reason is that I looked at it. If I cancelled again or rescheduled, it would have been 2023 before that was the first date, and that would have been January, and yeah, it would have been that. I think if I want to do the next one, I think the earliest I can do it is the end of next year. That's it. So he did say that he thinks that COVID has messed a whole load of things up. And just from the point of view that a lot of people had to cancel or couldn't come and that sort of thing. So there is this backlog, but must be a nice problem to have, you know.
For sure.
So, you know.
So, but if you would have come 2 years, would you have come with him?
No, I would have still been doing my finals probably.
Okay.
Yes.
So for those that don't know, what finals in what?
I'm a vet, so veterinary surgeon. I went to vet school in Glasgow. And actually, about 50% of my graduating year were North American as well. So I've got quite a lot of friends this side.
Oh, wow.
That I'm avoiding right now.
Do they know you're here at all?
They will do when this comes out.
Okay, so say, do we have to bleep out your name and?
I have a question for the two of you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So knowing what you know, you've had quite a run of crazy with your dental practices over the course of your career.
Yep.
We've had the clusterfuck of all clusterfucks. So, and everybody knows these young guys and gals that are coming out of school, would you tell them to wait 10 years before investing in an education like this? Or would you say, try to make it happen as quickly as you can?
I had this conversation with one of the mentors today, actually, and there are a load of people on the course who are not that long out. Now, you'll certainly get something out of it, but I would suggest that you need to have done some rounds in the ring to get the most out of this sort of level of teaching, you know?
I don't think you need to wait too long, but I think, because there's a guy out there that I see on social media who hasn't practiced in the same location long enough to see his shit fail. And so you don't even know what really doesn't work because you've seen things on Instagram, so clearly it's pretty.
Yeah.
Of course, his shit looks shitty, but it hasn't been, and he's an associate, so he keeps getting fired because he's a dick. But he goes from office to office and doesn't see that some of the stuff that he's so proud of on Instagram.
Oh, was this the guy that was the associate on the street from our?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny because Clint actually said to me, do you think Harry would like to come over next time and maybe do something at Coyce? And I was like, I think Harry is probably about 10 years beyond before where he needs to be for that
10 years early.
Yeah.
I don't. It's kind of it's hard to say. Everybody's a little bit unique. I took a Pete Dawson class, and I'd only been out of school about 6 months at the time. And I went up, introduced myself, and was talking. He goes, "You're here about 8 years early." Mm-hmm. I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Most people, what they'll do, and it's not that he was recommending it, but usually the pattern was you just graduate, you think you know everything, especially if you went to Michigan.
Of
so
course.
you think you know everything, and so you just keep working hard, trying to pay off your debts and everything, and then you start getting burned out and frustrated because what you thought was good doesn't work the way you thought it was, and then you start looking at alternatives and try to increase your game. I knew I sucked right away, so I figured why wait 8 years? Mm-hmm. Jump in and figure it all out.
Hey, you don't know what you don't know. That's the God's honest truth. You try your best with what you have.
Yeah.
I mean, you brought Harry. Harry, for those that don't know, is my brother, my younger brother. He's about 7 years younger, but he's in dental school right now.
Uh-huh.
And for Christmas, you actually brought him a really sort of basic online, was it an endo course?
It wasn't basic. It was Jason Smith's composite course.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he was super. He's got super into it. He's got this. They're doing a sort of bonus year right now. They've had to do an extra year at university. And I'm just trying to do things like.
That's really sugarcoating it. What they've made him do is basically reset a year because of COVID. So not really a bonus year.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to be polite for James, but no. But it's just things like that. And things like taking him to IDS and things, or just to try and keep him kicked in things, because he is a mature student, and it is one of these things. An extra year does suck, so I'm just trying to do bits and pieces from that point of view. But we had this conversation the other day. I've kind of stopped, because that Smithson course was great, but the problem is that he's not. Do you know who Jason Smithson is? Yeah. He's he's great at all that kind of stuff, but it's probably a bit advanced for where he is, and it's just confusing matters.
Sure.
I think you said that with Clint, like you were a bit like me. You were like, no, do it this way, do it that way. That's not how you do it, and things. And now I'm a bit like, no, do it that way. Do it the way they're teaching you to do it, and then once you've done it, then we can have a chat when you're finished and that sort of thing.
Well, I did. That's exactly almost word for word. Clint showed me something, and I said, "Well, when's your test?" Well, Friday. So okay, call me Saturday. Because if I tell you the way I do it, or recommend a certain thing, it's going to confuse you, and you might fuck up the exam, and you just got to pass your exam.
Yeah.
But this is because I showed him a prep one time. He was home for Christmas or something, and I prepped to type it on just to kind of show him how fast and efficient it could be or whatever. And you could see him staring at it. I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. I know what's going through your head. You think I over-reduced, right? And he's like, well, yeah. I said, no lab technician would ever complain about the amount of reduction that I do.
Yeah.
And it takes you trying to make a conservative prep work. So prep enough to make the job work.
Yeah.
And he would have gotten...
Absolutely, it's he's but there is a bit of that. One thing that has been quite striking is that. Sorry, what's up?
Well, they're bored as fuck.
Oh no, Christina's like, this is like, it's going over my head. I'm like, oh, okay, but I work in the dental office, so I'm like, I have been so ingrained in this crap.
Yeah. My level of dentistry goes to, should I take it out? Yeah, let's take it out, and that's about it.
Yeah, I learned that cats get dental disease and have to have teeth pulled. I didn't know that until I was bringing it back from the airport.
Yeah. No, what's really common is like these really horrible like buccal resorptive lesions where they just basically eat away at the enamel. It's horrific. It's really quite painful. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Usually I wake a cat up from a GA and they're just like, oh, thank God you've removed 6 teeth,
Right.
Yeah.
So
that and the opioids.
How would we know if our cat had a terrible...
I'm looking at my cat right now going...
I know. I'm like...
Bad breath, reluctance to eat his hard food, that sort of thing. He's probably a little bit young for it yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to watch Jade because she's a little bitch.
Yeah.
I'd have a look for you, but I have no idea where she is.
Yeah, you'll never see her.
No,
you'll be
fine.
here an entire week, and she will hide from you the whole entire week.
Well, she saw her yesterday for 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when she was hiding.
Behind you, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe you should be so lucky.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, should I go with some of the questions, finish up questions that we didn't do last week?
Sure, I'm in.
Because I think we did the juicy ones, though. So, we got that.
You saved the boring ones for Chris, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, I was actually curious about this one. So, I did pose an AMA thing out to the Shitters group. And Brittany says, when will staffing stop being such a damn problem? Is staffing an issue in the UK as well?
100%. It's horrific right now.
Okay.
I think it's across the board. For example, we went to go out for dinner the other night just to like TGI's or something.
Okay.
And half the tables were empty, and we said, "Can we get a table?" And they said, "No, we literally don't have the staff to wait the tables. We can't let you in." I think it's just across the board. It's
okay. So it's not a uniquely American lazy asshole.
For where I am in my career, I got offered a very good position at a vet practice. We don't currently have a head vet, so maybe that'll happen. But it's across the board. It's every profession. We just don't seem to have the staff.
Wow.
I think there has been a sort of reckoning in the UK because I think people have just realised, dentistry and otherwise, is that they're not putting up with conditions like they would have maybe 2 years ago. You know? And it's just not that that everything was that bad to work with, but that's the issue. People have had time to think. That the worst thing in a lot of ways to happen to NHS dentistry is that they had 2 months off or 3 months off, and they had time to actually get off the treadmill and realise how miserable a lot of them were, and they're not coming back. So I
also think part of the problem in the UK is that our working tax credit benefit system, whatever you want to call it, is actually sort of geared towards part-time mothers or part-time people. So if you work up to 16 hours a week, we'll then make your wages up to quite a substantial living wage. So therefore, people actually only look for the 16-hour-a-week jobs, which leaves a big deficit as well.
Sure.
Having said that, there was an article, I can't remember, I think it was in something like Forbes, that apparently during the mass resignation that happened 2 years ago, 70% of people actually have regretted doing that. So whether it'll pan out, I've got no idea. But it's not a case of people have maybe the grass has been greener and they've kind of realised that a little bit. So, but hopefully not for much longer.
Yeah,
you know?
it would certainly.
I kind of think the good employers will out in this, i.e. if you're a good employer, your staff will want to stay with you.
It depends on what you consider a good employer, because the pattern that I'm watching throughout all of these offices and the resumes that I'm seeing, that people are only staying at a job for 3 to 6 months because they know that there's someone else out there that's desperate. So they're going to jump to the next office. And so now I've started reading resumes, and if I see job, and they've had 5 jobs since 2020, I know exactly what they're doing, and I know I don't want any part of it. Delete.
Yeah, it's just too much of a pain to get them in, train them.
And if you dentists out there actually valued your own practices, you would look at those resumes and you would stop offering the top dollar. Learn to work with what you have until you can get better.
Well, because what's right now we're artificially inflating the value of the position because they're throwing $30 an hour, and the people that really only are worth 20 are getting the 30 because they can, but they suck at it, and now that's becoming the
standard.
Minimum. And no one's going to do it. It's a lateral move at least. So
see, I recently, 3 months ago, started a new job, and I got within 24 hours of needing a job, I ended up with sort of 5 offers on the table. It was crazy, and I didn't actually take the highest paid job that I was offered, much to a lot of people's disappointment, really, wasn't it, darling?
I'll be a kit man one day.
But I ended up taking the practice that I felt most comfortable at, and I am not regretting it in the slightest. I've got such a fantastic team that I work with.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I skip into work every day because it's work for a reason.
Work, yeah.
But I do genuinely enjoy working with a team, and I don't think I could have picked a better place to be working.
Yeah.
So there is that side of it as well. I think if you're happy where you work, the financial stuff tends to be second.
Well, that's the thing. That's the
thing.
That's the thing.
And drink.
And drink. Yeah. That extra $10 an hour is not going to buy you loyalty. I'm sorry, it's just not. Yeah, if someone wants to leave, they'll leave. So it's. But what can you do?
Yeah. We did have a listener, Clifton Zimmerman, asks, Chris, you're a proud Scotsman, but your last name, Stafford, is ancestrally English. Yeah. You've married an English woman and moved to England, and will possibly have English children. Could the argument have been made that you've been reclaimed to England?
They could make the argument.
Well, let me tell you this. What was that? Was that Clintoris?
No, this is Clifton.
Clifton Zimmerman.
Clifton.
Yeah. Clifton. Yeah. Well, let me tell you this, Clifton. He is very much a proud Brightonian. Especially when it comes to... Well, you support Brighton football team now. You go regularly to their football.
Did you vote for Brexit?
No.
No comment.
But I didn't vote for Scottish. But I actually had this conversation with Clint on Totally Oral. I didn't vote for Scottish independence either. So it was, but it wasn't. It wasn't a like the head. The heart said yes, but the head, the head said absolutely not. That was more the thing.
It sounds like it was a dare that got out of control.
But it's still, it's still.
For people that don't know what you're talking about, give some background.
England was part of the EU and isn't now.
And also Scotland decided to be a little bit like Texas and have its own vote to try and get independence, which failed.
Always remember the Alamo.
And what they did, what the SNP, the Scottish National Party, did was say, anyone under 18, so the 16 to 18-year-olds can now vote. And of course, they're very heavily very heavily influenced by
woke
sort of social media
Right.
and parents and,
And
whatever
famous
happened.
people.
So actually, it was still a no. We're not going to leave. Which made a lot of sense because they hadn't put into place like what happens with the healthcare system, because at the moment they use
Right.
the NHS, and
Well,
can they still use the NHS if they get independence? I
Right.
don't know.
Well, and that's the thing is they
Is that the thing?
definitely don't think of and drink.
You know, I've listened to a few episodes and I did wonder whether you actually drink when you press that button, but turns out
yeah.
you do. Yeah,
do.
and what's the answer?
Absolutely,
We-
100%.
And
We're
we drink.
drinking. That's why it's sloppy at the end of the show.
That's why the fucks start rolling right out. But they don't think about the consequence of their actions today.
Well, just recently I put a Facebook post when the Soccer World Cup was on, just for those who don't know. Because there were a lot of people on my Facebook page that sort of said, "Oh, anyone but England! I can't stand it. Let's support anyone but England." All of a sudden, they're all Italian, and I just thought it was absolutely ridiculous. Because actually, the only children's specialist hospital in the UK is in London, so they're literally voting against the place or the country that has the only place that's possibly going to save sick children. So, like, you can't show a bit of support for your neighbours.
Yeah.
Drives me crazy. I can't. Let's get off this.
Okay. All right.
Let's just cut that whole thing.
Let's move it along.
All right.
Next.
Okay, so this person, Angie, was talking about a photo we saw in our group. Aaron Lusingant said he was doing a crown seat at his home on his couch with his ex-girlfriend. Anybody ever done any dentistry on an ex at their house?
That sounds really romantic.
Not an ex. I mean, you've done Botox and fillers on me at the house on the couch with the lamp.
Well, yeah, but yeah.
Yeah.
You're not an ex.
Not yet. Ba-dum-bum.
Your current wife.
And my first wife, Holly.
So no, we haven't really done any dentistry as such. However, I do drag him into work quite often, and because dental stuff at vet school's taught very, very poorly. I'm not going to lie. So
Well, it isn't just extractions?
Dental school, dental school's taught really badly.
That's true. The more CE I take, the more I realize dental school was a waste.
So I would, I'd sort of drag him in and be like, "Oh, I've got a full clearance on a 12-year-old Yorkie. Do you want to come in and have at it?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, absolutely." And then I didn't realise until he was in that it would just be a lot of, "That's not a crowbar." No, not like that, like this. And my nurses were finding it quite amusing
Because they're not used to you being, because you're Dr. Stafford at work, and they're
no
not
one
used
speaks to a vet like that.
they're not used to sort of angry Scotsmen shouting at you, So
Yeah.
So yeah.
You've had me try to help suture your finger up at the house.
Yeah.
You got a big, huge, and then we just got the.
And then the thing that sucks is, when you have a suture needle, it's this little half moon, what is that, a quarter inch?
We had a sewing needle.
I had a freaking...
Well, it's actually 3/8 of a circle usually, but let's
You're
not
right.
get technical.
And I was like,
I'm trying to get it all the way through, but once you get both through, you got to finish.
I know, he's like, you can't just leave it there. I'm like,
Well, and then it's kind of like the scene in 1883 when she got shot with the arrow.
Did you numb it up? Please tell me you numbed it up.
no, we didn't have any of that at the house.
No.
But he was bleeding everywhere.
But I was
He's
bleeding
like,
everywhere,
'Cause
so I need to get this...
I may or may not have done my own toenail surgery before, like on the kitchen table, and you can't stand watching that either, can you? You're like you're just mutilating yourself right now.
Ooh, yeah. So we've had a couple of those weird incidents.
Yeah. Home... Yeah, and I keep thinking about you see these Cuban quasi-dentists that are in Miami, and they're doing dentistry in their garage. Mm-hmm. What are they using? Are they using sewing needles and...
Yeah, I don't even want to think about that. That's
or they have an account with Salvin, so at least they have the right equipment. But
I don't know.
I keep seeing things like it keeps popping up on my Instagram. It's like people do like DIY braces and things. And
Yeah,
it's like
Well, from what I can tell from those DIY brackets and wires, it's like they're putting them on, but there's no tension to the wires. It's just so for the aesthetics. Look, I have brackets and what?
So they're passive.
They're totally passive. They're actually ridiculous.
Right.
And they can't shut them down.
See, part of me thinks like, you know, when you get these like Smile Direct clubs and stuff,
Yeah.
and they're effectively like, I don't know
Those
if I'm
aren't
allowed-
passive. Those are actually.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say Invisalign or not, but
Yeah.
they're like those. But I mean, I've got someone on Facebook who's like, oh, they've always told me I wouldn't get perfect teeth, and I'm like, yeah, but if you went and spoke to an actual dentist, they'd probably get a much better result than what you're getting right now, my love.
Do you have a Smile Direct club in Seattle?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't.
No,
think
I
we
think
do.
they were trying to, because it was mail order only. Because we know someone who was doing a Smile Direct club, but it was completely online.
Right.
They didn't do it. It wasn't like when we were walking to New York and I walked by and I stopped. You're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to take a picture of the Smile Direct club right off Fifth Avenue.
Yeah.
Because there's one in Cork where my old practice was, and we get at least half a dozen a month from up there, just going like just kind of just needing fix and things, and most of them were fixing them with actual Invisalign. There was one or two that it was implants rather than anything else, because they just moved the teeth completely out
of the bone.
out the bone. Yeah. It's kind of it's yeah, but they're still going.
I can't. I
don't get it.
It blows my mind that they're still in business. They haven't. Yeah. I don't get it.
So I'm kind of desperate for Chris to come into work and show me how to do like root canals.
Veneers?
Well,
A veneer kitty?
No, like root canals. And the one thing that would be sort of clinically appropriate, I suppose, would be like traumatic fractures of canines. Because if you take a canine out of a dog, you usually end up with a load of bone resorption on that like quarter
really?
almost. Yeah, because it's literally the corner tooth.
Yeah.
So if they did get a traumatic fracture, there would be justification for.
You get fistulas and things as well, so it's so there is actually a
Yeah,
genuine.
when you take it out, you quite often get an oronasal fistula. with it.
Oh, okay.
So if I could have him come in and show me how to root canal it properly, I mean, it's considered specialist surgery, so we are talking not a cheap option.
Sure.
But if someone actually wanted to keep their dog's structure, their jaw similar, then
So you would still have to crown that tooth.
Not necessarily.
Not
You
necessarily.
can just dome over and just leave it. You can do that. You're looking at.
they have titanium crowns and all sorts put on dogs at times.
It'd be casting you wouldn't be doing. It's just a bit.
Wow.
It'd be cast gold, or it'd be.
Because wouldn't it just be incredibly fragile, especially for an animal that's eating hard foods all the time?
Yeah, but if it's sheared off at the gingival level, then
Oh,
it's just
okay.
it's really just to
Gotcha.
stop you from creating a big massive hole, because these things are huge. So
Gotcha. Okay, I was thinking like the whole tooth you were root canaling, and I'm like, wait, what?
And it's funny because Henry Schein actually do the endophiles that are for dogs and stuff, and they're literally like about 3 times the length.
Wow.
Trust
So,
me,
yeah.
you got some. I've seen these things. You got some patients that you'd like to.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. There's a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, it literally come out like the eye socket.
Yeah.
All right.
Now I'm just gonna think about that all day long.
All right. So Carol says, do you think labs should be charging a gas fee for dropping off?
No, I mean, I could just have it shipped.
Yeah.
Well, that's. I think what they're asking to do, if they're going to start charging that, then yeah, we might as well use UPS.
Well, I might as well use a company that does even more elevated work outside of the state.
Well, we were discussing this, and fuel prices in the UK are ridiculous. So what do we work it out? About £10 a gallon at the moment? $10 a gallon
Yeah.
in the UK
Yeah.
for fuel, which is excessive. So you can understand why they're bringing that subject up.
Yeah. Well,
But I also don't think you need to have a lab delivering to your office every single day.
But I also think you guys should be considering, like, using something within your area, I suppose, as far as climate change and all the rest of it, rather than if it's going to cost the same, you getting something from New York or Boston.
Yeah, but if I'm
having
getting something
a little
from
bit
New
closer.
York or Boston, I'm going to that because it's a much better skilled lab tech. If I'm gonna have to pay the same amount of money to use XYZ here in Washington or Williams Dental in Gilroy, California, I'm fucking using Williams Dental Lab in Gilroy, California.
That's because they're scanning as well, so there's no, they're not sending the impression.
Yeah.
So it's
only one way.
Yeah.
But, if I have to pay the same exact amount of money, I'm going to go with the lab that has a better result.
right. Because if it's $300 a unit and no shipping, or $150 a unit plus gas or whatever, I might as well get if I'm paying the same thing, I might as well get the skilled
option,
artist
yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of
But I also don't
But
think
is shipping going to go up as well because fuel's gone up?
Yeah,
It all has to go on a truck somewhere.
Yeah.
But you have to watch everything like that. But I also don't think labs need to be running to your office every single day of the week.
No.
Yeah, if they're
You
going to start
should-
charging stuff like that, then yeah, you're going to say, hey, I just want
Our
them on
delivery
Wednesdays.
days are this day.
Yeah.
So we have. I work for a corporate, although we very much keep ourselves independent, which is quite nice. But every evening we have a lab guy come round that picks up all our samples and takes them to the lab, which from a veterinary point of view is amazing for diagnostics. I mean, we have in-house bloods. We can do, biochemistry, hematology, urinalysis in-house. But if we wanted something more advanced, then we need to send it away. Knowing that it gets picked up that night and I'll have a result by the next morning is kind of
that's pretty
invaluable. But we're also not sending it to Yorkshire. We're sending it, half an hour down the road. So.
Well, and dental offices aren't getting their crowns the very next day.
No.
Or their bridges or their veneers. They're going to get it, a week to 2 weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
And you can schedule appropriately to say, okay, well, we know we won't have this until Wednesday because our delivery is not until Tuesday afternoon.
I thought Glidewell was next day, or was it 2 days later, or was it Glidewell? Or do you not use Glidewell?
I
We
don't use Glidewell.
Glidewell.
Oh, okay, right. Is that a dirty word?
I just don't use them, but I think for some people, it would be Glidewell would be dirty.
Yeah.
I was at a lab tech meeting one time, and it was definitely a dirty word amongst those guys.
Really?
Oh yeah.
What is it? Just I'm under the impression it's just like a big huge lab, or is it?
It's a gargantuan. It's like a city block
It's
of the
a
building.
it's a Bright Now dental. It's just a mill.
Yeah.
They're constantly training new talent to be lab techs and things. It's such a huge operation that they have to have quality control people managing everything to keep it. Having said that, I mean, if they're doing that much volume, they have to be at least adequate.
Yeah.
So,
Well, but it also goes back to, will you sit there for 3 hours to try to make a crown fit so you don't have to send it back?
right.
Or do you want to pay for the crown that drops right in and your crown seats are 20 minutes and you can see 4 other people?
Right. So there's definitely a trade-off to it. I having once I got my iTero and my margins were perfect and the lab and I worked out the kinks so my contacts were dead on and the occlusion, but like my crown seat literally is how long does it take to get the temporary off? I got to the point one time where I was like, I'm not even going to try my crown on. I'm just going to put the cement in and go. And then I thought, let me check. And it actually was kind of tight. So I'm like, oh God, I really could have had a bad day. But for the most part, there's very little to any
What
adjusting.
sort of kinks are you talking about? Because, I mean, Chris is hopefully going to have an iTero very shortly to play
I
with.
love the iTero.
Well, because the lab technician is still the weak link to the whole thing is the lab technician because everything else is automated or mechanical and dialed in. Well, you got to get your parameters figured out for them to know how you like your contacts. Because some dentists just love having contacts too tight so they can shave them down to make them fit. Because the risk is if it's not tight enough, what are you going to do? I just like my contacts.
anyway.
Yeah, I like them where it floss snaps through, but not with too much trouble and already. And so I don't have to worry about once I've adjusted. Now I have to polish it and all that. Well, I just like them where it's just perfect, including the occlusion and iTero. I mean, I don't even check bite. I now warn people that I'm not going to check their bite when I'm seating my crown because they're like, wait, aren't you supposed? Because especially if they've had a crown before and that was just a routine thing, especially many crowns, and they know you're supposed to bite on the blue paper. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. They're like, well, if you need something, you can come back. They never come back. The bite, because you're not using bite registration, you're actually having them in occlusion when you're taking the scan of their bite. There's nothing to interfere or get in the way.
So going back to this whole sort of shipping thing,
yeah.
do you think there's space / justification for having everything in-house, i.e. you scan it with the iTero and then you've got something like a CEREC, but a better idea.
Yeah, there are other mills besides the CEREC.
That was one thing that I was going to come up with. It was like there are
because you can do a vast amount of your work if you have those sort of
I just don't want to do it is my big thing.
Well, well, there's a couple of things. One, there are what's the word? There are services out there where you can do your prep and you can do your scan, and then you send it off to someone who will design it to you and send it back to you, and then you can from that STL file you can print off from there. The issue you've got is that if you're the dentist doing everything, it becomes the least economical crown you're ever going to make, because you could be spending that time. Because a lot of these guys are getting they're going to work at like 5 a.m. to get things, and spending extra time. It's like, what's the point? You know,
yeah. Well, a lot of them also aren't using an oven. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And
depending on the material, you may not need it, but
But so many of these CERECs are shit. Yeah, they got you done in one visit, and then they come to our office and it's shit.
I think it's a temporary. I'm like, oh, you still wearing a temporary? No, that's my final. Oh, wow. Okay.
Looks terrible. Has no anatomy. It's basically a blunt space. So you're basically...
I must admit, I saw that with Chris, because when we first got together, his practice had a CEREC, and I was like, oh, that's amazing. When you can see it there in the practice being milled, you're like, fantastic, this is the future. But I think the difference is Chris would spend a lot of time then glazing it and painting
to do
it and
really,
making
really
it
well.
Perfect.
You just got to spend time.
Yeah.
And most of us are trying to delegate that to someone else, or it ends up that it just doesn't. You could make it look like a lab technician's, but most places just don't.
I mean, we have a CEREC that sits in our
from
office.
20 years ago.
Not that old.
It was.
We did not have it at the last office, so.
Yeah, we did.
No, we didn't.
I brought it with me. Lori never worked at this office, and she was the one that convinced me to buy it. So, 100% had it.
Yeah, it spent a lot of time underneath the kitchen table.
I have a bit of a curveball question as well, if I can throw it out there.
Yeah.
So, dental school and prices, because, I mean, I know in the UK, and in Scotland at least, you get your first degree paid for, no tuition. Whereas over here, you are literally in debt for the rest of your life.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to pay
100%.
Yeah.
Pay off dental school. And actually, like I say, 50% of my class were North American, and they're going to be paying off hundreds of thousands of dollars for the rest of their life.
Yep.
So, do you think there is a reason for the massive difference in prices? Because I mean, even nowadays, I think it's £11,000 a year that Harry's paying. Is it? So he's going to come out of dental school with what, 50 grand's worth of debt.
That's only like the first quarter of dental school.
So why is there such a massive difference when you consider that they get very similar qualifications at the end of it?
Location of the school.
Well, because if I was trying to save money, I mean, why don't I just go to the UK, get educated, and come back? Well, they won't recognize the diploma, so you still have to matriculate here to some degree. That's why they're trying to access to care is an issue. So they've talked about having foreign trained dentists get licensed, and that will solve the issue. Well, it'll just totally floor everything, and it'll put everything.
Why do you think schooling itself is so expensive here when you look at the price difference? You know. The
schooling, it's because what was in the 70s and the 80s, they realized that at school itself, education was big business, and they made it so it was very easy to get student loans. There was much more emphasis in the 50s and 60s to have trades, plumbers and carpenters and things. It really wasn't that as common to go off to college. And then when they found out that college could be a big moneymaker, suddenly you've got these big universities. They're tripling tuition. It's a horrible situation that we're in. So now when they say you should lower your fees, we're in so much debt. We have a minimum that we have to charge just to cover debt plus then a living wage. So,
and you're at university just for anyone who doesn't know, if you're in the UK, you don't do an undergrad. I went straight from high school to dental school.
Yeah.
So
and that's the way
Chris
France
was
is the same
teaching
way.
patients at 22.
Yeah.
No, I did my first crown prep at 20.
Yeah.
So so it's like.
But you were literally seeing patients at 22 after you graduated.
Yeah, but I still saw patients at dental school as well. So so it's kind of.
But how old are you when you graduate from high school?
17.
Okay.
Yeah. Then you have 5 years.
England's slightly different in that respect. You finish high school technically at 16, and then it's sort of up to you if you want to go on to sixth form or college, which is another 2 years.
Really?
So that'll take you up to 18, and then you go on to university if you want to. So, you can at 16 decide you want to do something vocational.
That's crazy. Yeah. Here they're trying to make the I'm not sure when, because it used to be an apprenticeship kind of thing way back in the 1800s, and they, why did we decide to make it? I think they wanted to elevate our status, part of it. So I think even in the 1930s, I think it was still more of a apprentice than anything else.
In England, it was it wasn't a degree. It was a licentiate that you sat through the Royal College, and it was like an apprenticeship type of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there did end up being a kind of qualification for it, but I think it was the 1950s when it became an actual.
I think
go to university and get a degree type thing. So it's
Because I quite like what Singapore, for example. Going back to the vet school, doesn't have a vet school in Singapore. Okay, it's
really?
very, very small. Yeah, they don't have one at all. But it's a very small country. However, what they do is they second students. So what they'll do is effectively pay a student's tuition and accommodation for the 7 years they're at university, providing they come back and work for 3 or 4 years as a government vet. So
really?
Yeah, so they're basically they're sort of locked into working for the government for a couple of years.
Right.
Well, it's not. It's only a few years. This is the thing.
It's kind of like here with the military. You get a Navy scholarship, then you owe the Navy 3 years, and then you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Which actually seems like quite a good idea because effectively, it's saving them money. They don't have a massive outgoing for a vet school, but yeah.
No, that's like I'm 8 years ahead of Clint academically, and
sorry, just the way you said that.
Well, I mean, I'm 7.5 years older, but at eight grades, so 8 years ahead of and such.
The thing is, Harry, so my younger brother, we have the same age gap between me and my brother as you and Clint.
Okay.
Yeah, it's almost exactly the same. And I didn't graduate until I was 31. And Harry's already got, how many degrees has Harry got? 2?
2.
Harry's got 2 degrees already.
Crazy.
And he's halfway through dental school as well. So he's going to graduate with 3 degrees before I graduated with 1.
That's crazy. So I had, $150,000 student loans. Clint had, $450,000 in student loans? In just 8 years, I was 98 and he was 07?
He was also in New York.
Right.
And we were in buttfuck Oregon.
Portland, tree-hugging carpenters and woodsmen. Yeah, so I mean, it's not apples to apples, but definitely a big.
And am I right in thinking that private schools charge more than state?
100%.
And you can get in-state tuition rates as well, or is that?
You can if it's the state that you live in.
Right.
Yeah, so I was in out-of-state, so I paid out-of-state tuition, which is the equivalent of going to private school, where Clint went to New York. NYU is private, so it's no state subsidies, and so it's just going to be expensive.
Yeah.
So, all right. I think I had one more from that thread on the group. Oh, maybe that was it. Doing a home, staffing. Yeah.
I can come up with another one if you want. You want another one from me?
We can
Do you have a question?
Well, maybe. So recently, Chris has changed indemnity people from one to another because they wanted to up his rates by a ridiculous amount.
Okay.
What's the story with indemnity over here?
It's just expensive. You gotta pay
Just
it.
expensive across the board.
Yeah, and depending on the type of coverage that you want, you can. It's like having car insurance. Do you want comprehensive or do you just want liability? Yeah. And I hate the insurance industry.
It's screwy one way or the other in dentistry. It's a fucking clusterfuck. Mm-hmm. I don't know why anybody actually ever wants to go into this industry. Mm-hmm. It's a trash industry.
Yeah. Also, Clifton had another question. He says, per previous discussions, where are you on the offshore barge to place implants on animals?
Well, this is because Clifton had a very poignant point, which was that Chris and I should just get a boat and sail out just off of Brighton and then put some illegal implants into some animals. Only because of the head of the British Veterinary Dental Association said there's no ethical reason for an implant to be placed in a dog, which does make sense because they're here for 10, 12 years.
Sure. Yeah, but 10, 12 years of a quality life. I mean,
the argument is they can have just as good a quality of life with no teeth. You see,
I don't know. I know plenty of people that don't have teeth, that don't have a fucking quality of life.
It's not an aesthetics thing with dogs, though. This is what they get out.
No, but like
But dogs can't wear fucking dentures, so
Yeah.
that is an alternative.
True, but you're putting through a general anesthetic which has a morbidity risk and all that kind of stuff as well. So there is.
So do you do that? You do that when you have to take out their teeth, put a fucking implant in at the same time, so you don't have to keep fucking doing
But
it.
the thing is, Chris put an implant in me, and he was like, "Oh, go a bit careful on it for a little while." You can't exactly say to your dog, "Listen, don't chew on that side for a little while, or
Right.
go easy on it." So
Definitely no immediate loading.
yeah, yeah. This is the thing.
Oh, is that the thing?
That's the thing.
Oh,
And drink. So we are thinking about getting.
a dog.
No, we can't have a dog anymore. After Karma, it kills me.
Yeah.
We're thinking about getting merch. If anybody has any ideas out there on what kind of merch to get, sweatshirts, hats, what we should say on them.
I think we should have an ascot.
Oh, an ascot, or even one of the what are those things that go
Do you
in
mean
your
a
pocket?
mascot?
No.
Oh, like the neckerchief.
Like Freddy from Scooby Doo.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Pocket
I was like,
squares.
is,
Doesn't everybody in England wear an
I
ascot?
think we'd have a good pocket square type of thing.
I thought it was a
Yeah.
British thing.
yeah.
Why do you
must
look
have put
so
that on ours.
confused?
Like a blazer badge as well. That could look
Yeah.
quite neat. Yeah.
Pocket square, yeah?
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
We could do ties for the guys when they go to their little meeting things.
I just think I can see dental schools throughout the world with just like and drink put on the back of their hoodies. I think it'd be great. Yeah.
There's a few things. This is a clusterfuck.
Yes,
Very
Periodontists are pussies.
honest
that's
with us.
very true.
You're not even ready for it.
I know. He's slacking tonight. I don't know what's happening.
I got to reorganize the buttons.
Yeah, his buttons are in a mess. It's
Like his
panties
garage
in a
at
bunch.
the moment, He's got 2 Brits staying in his garage.
Well, could be worse. But so there were no other. I thought there were some questions we didn't answer last week.
We got through most of them last week.
Okay. Well, what else do you guys got planned for the rest of the week?
I don't know whether I should go back down to Pike Place Market or not, or whether that's just me, feeding my addiction.
To go to the Starbucks?
Yeah.
Go to the roastery.
Yeah, I should.
Don't go to this Pike Place Market. There's no reason to go back down there.
So-
if you've been there once, you're done.
To fill people in, I am a little bit shallow, and I love Starbucks. So the whole reason that I accompanied my lovely husband out here was to go to the original Starbucks in Pike Place Market, which was, it was amazing to make that pilgrimage and pay homage to.
But it's not I didn't know until today. It's not a shop like a Starbucks, like a normal Starbucks. It's just they just sell the.
Yeah, they don't have
beans.
anywhere. You can't sit in and drink anywhere. You
Alright.
you go in, you buy the merch, you buy the coffee, and leave. That's all it is.
But you can go up to the roaster, which is on Capitol Hill.
Yes.
And that's
which
huge.
is a Starbucks Reserve, like in
Ah,
London.
right.
You see,
Look at the business class one.
yeah,
Yes.
it's beautiful.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Actually, I do have something that we could finish with. So I did get this. This one's from Reddit. So 2 Pac-Man 13 asked 6 hours ago. So this is fresh. Should I return to this dentist? Dental assistant hit my teeth during checkup. I recently moved to a new city and visited a dentist there for the first time. I was experiencing some pain from a previous root canal and wanted to get that checked out. During the test, the dental assistant was trying to find out the origins of this pain, and she hit each of my teeth with a small metal rod, even though I told her which tooth was hurting and had the root canal. I was taken aback at first because I've never had this happen at the dentist. Ultimately, she did not find anything from this exercise. For the next 3 days, I had constant low-intensity pain on all of my teeth where she hit, which was very uncomfortable. They want to schedule another checkup with me, but I feel unsure about this. Is striking the teeth with a metal rod a regular practice of dentists?
Depends on what day I'm having.
Well, no, I remember a few years ago, we had a friend on Christmas Eve that had dental pain.
Yeah.
We couldn't locate which one it was. I mean, I was.
When you
I
say
was,
we, quite
I definitely-
emphatically, you mean me.
Chris is the dentist. I definitely wasn't there playing nurse for him.
Well,
because
it was Christmas Eve,
Christmas
and everyone else had gone home. So
and you were, because she couldn't work out which tooth the pain was coming from, and you were literally going tap 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 between 2 teeth,
Yeah.
effectively to try and work out where it was coming from, and even she couldn't work it out. But anyway, so I have seen you do something like that.
But the assistant was doing it.
That part stood out to me. They maybe they don't know who the dentist was. Then that was the dentist, but the poster says it was the assistant, but
It very well could have been the dentist.
I mean, some assistants might do a few things to help me as I come in. Say, okay, I tapped on percussion sensitive.
Can they collect the data and then just you go in and go right? And then, or is that how you can work here? Or
it can. I mean, it doesn't take a dental license to tap on the teeth.
Right.
But I still would need to verify it myself.
Yeah, and interpret this.
Yeah.
Interpret the, yeah.
Okay. So, but there were 5 responses. It was all from dentists, and they all said, yeah, this is normal. And, then this one, Caddy Mayonnaise, a general dentist.
Dr. Mayonnaise to you.
That's Dr. Mayonnaise. That's a totally normal thing to do. Patients will swear up and down they know which tooth is bothering them, and then like 75% of the time it's something else. It's just not super easy thing for a person to differentiate on their own.
I mean, 75% seems like
it's a lot of times where
it's pretty high.
They're pointing here and it's actually this one.
Yeah.
Or we've even had where they're like, it's I swear it's down here on the bottom, but it's up above, and they have a fucking sinus infection.
Or I've had it where it's right here, and then you take a look at the X-ray. They're like, that's a pontic. There's no tooth there.
Oh no, but this is the thing.
Is it?
It's the thing.
Yeah, it's the thing.
It's the thing.
And drink.
It doesn't happen very often, but it is horrible when it's just like we have to leave things to localize because I don't know where it is, because they come in and they've got an MOD in every tooth. There was a horrible story. It was, I can't remember what it was. It was a local dentist, and patient came in pain with the usual heavily stored dentition. It's one of these ones, and I went, okay, right. It's probably been squeezed in for 5 minutes to think, right, it's coming from your is it number 3, your first molar. Opened it up, expect the pulp. No improvements. And the guy's back in the next day. Okay, I'll give you some antibiotics. Went in came back in the next day, still okay, right. It's cut a long story short. This was probably the start of December. Opened up the second molar. Opened up the both bicuspids. No increase in pain. I went, right. One of my friends is an endodontist. I'm going to drive you. I feel so bad at this. I'm going to drive you over there, and I'm going to deal with this. And the endodontist went in, and went, oh. And he got his probe and went, oh yeah, that's the pain. Yeah, it was coming from the lower right wisdom tooth. So,
but that's why we say, when people are like, I swear it's coming from here. Mm-hmm. No, that's just where you're feeling a residual discomfort.
Well, and what sucks is then they insist that you're a piece of shit and don't know anything because you're questioning them and they're reporting the pain, and you're like, I've seen so many of these. I trust me, I know what the fuck I'm doing.
Well, like we had that girl in last week, and she's like, "Hi, I'm just having this like throbbing kind of low pain." And you started asking her, "Okay, well, has anything happened?" Da 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 da. She finally says, "Yeah, I was in a car accident a week ago, and I had really bad whiplash and blah blah blah." Blah. She comes in today because you said, "You know what? I'm going to have you wait." Mm-hmm. You need to wait it out because I think this is a residual from your car accident. I don't actually think there's anything wrong with your tooth. She came in today and I said, "Hey, how's your tooth doing? How are you feeling after your accident?" She goes, surprisingly, a couple of days ago, it was like it wasn't even there anymore. It just.
So I might actually know something.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying?
Well, and this family has been with us for 20-something years. Uh-huh. But they were fucking assholes when we first had them in the office because they were patients of the previous doctor who did no wrong, who was a fucking creeper. And
oh yeah, he was creepy.
Oh, he was a creeper.
He was a photographer
of young women. Come to my house.
We're starting a whole new thing.
Yeah. La 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 la.
Oh, so you've got so you've got toothache. Take your trousers off and get
turn and cough.
So I've got 2 clinicians that have been here. Been clinicians an incredibly long time for one of you. Do you still get to the point where you have a patient in the chair and you're like, I just have no fucking clue what's going on here?
Yeah, and then we refer them.
Yeah.
We are advocates of refer. If you have to second guess yourself, you need to have another set of eyes.
Well, because there is some certain situations, there's a psychological component, and you realize, okay, they're a bucket of crazy. I don't want to spend the time going through all the battery of things to figure something out and then have to argue with them about.
But do you ever give the kind of, oh, this is what I think is going on,
Yeah.
it might be something else, and
Or-
then...
You have a differential.
Oh,
Of,
yeah.
like, it might be
Yeah,
a couple
yeah.
of these things. Why don't you go off to my friend, the specialist?
We'll refer them to a specialist.
Yeah.
Just because we don't feel the need to do a root canal just to do a root canal, or to extract a tooth just to extract a tooth. So we have...
And what if you get things like lumps and bumps that you really don't like the look of, and you're like, I don't like this.
Oh, no.
That's,
When
that's straight to oral meds.
Oral surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, we had a gentleman come in about 7 years ago, and the guy hadn't been to the dentist in probably 40 years, and he was terrified of the dentist. And we had an exam and a consultation with him, and we had him go sit out in the other room, and Doc comes up to me and he goes, I need you to come here. And I said, okay. And he goes, I need you to see if what I'm seeing, I'm really seeing. And I was,
Okay.
So
and I was
the guy,
like,
How many brownies had you had at this point?
no, this was something that we had never seen.
All right.
he had come in for a consultation, and he was so phobic that he wouldn't even get in the dental chair. So I'm conversationally talking about things, saying, okay, this is what we can do. And I'm talking about, pull your teeth. And like conversation, you could tell he's just worn his teeth. It's such a crazy roller coaster that, okay, yeah. And sometimes lingual tori can be so big that you kind of think you can see him when they're talking, especially when their other teeth are worn down to nothing. So I just say, usually something like this is probably going to cost you X number of thousands of dollars, all in four kind of thing. But I hadn't taken any diagnostic records yet. So I finally, he's like, okay, let's do this.
He started to get really comfortable, and
Yeah.
but
So then I say, okay, let's take a pano. I think I started with the pano, and the pano looked weird. I'm like, okay. So then we do the CBCT, and then that's when I bring you and go on. Can you see how the teeth have moved?
he just
here?
was like,
And it's
that's what
expansive,
I'm seeing,
and-
right? He had a benign tumor.
Was it an osteosarcoma by any chance?
At the
No, it was a
time, we didn't know,
neuroblastoma.
but he literally, his tongue rested on the top of his mouth because it filled the entire arch.
Oh.
Yeah, the whole lingual bed was just this tumor.
And I'm like, Doc,
So that's when I said, I need to refer.
well, he goes, we need to get him somewhere quick. It was
Well, we made the
huge.
referral, and then we called up like a week later to say, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm going to go maybe some. I'm like, you need to go now,
You need to go now.
not tomorrow.
And then I called the oral surgeon and I said, I need you to see him yesterday. So it ends up being a benign tumor, but they end up having, when they cut it out, he lost part of his mandible.
Yeah.
And they took bone from his femur.
Fibula. So they did a fibula flap,
Nice.
and I didn't know
Well,
what the hell
nice,
that.
but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I had no idea what the hell that was.
Does that alter the shape at all of the mandible? Because I can imagine if you're taking out a chunk of the mandible and putting in effectively something that's from your leg.
Yeah, so they had to take it in parts to be able to kind of shape it to have a little
Oh,
curve.
cool.
So we worked with this oral surgeon and they redid his entire arch. Then we did all the implants on the upper and lower. Now he has a full mouth full of teeth for the first time in 40 years that he'd had this thing since he was a child.
Yeah.
Nobody had ever said anything to him.
See, we don't really have that luxury in veterinary medicine. I have seen a cat come in for a dental, older cat, come in, needed a few teeth out. They've gone to take out the first molar, and literally half of the mandibles just come out with it because the whole thing's just cancerous. And at that point, the vet had to say, I need to go and talk to the owner.
Yeah.
And phone the owner and said, listen, I can't physically wake this cat up. It's going to be in too much pain. It's cancer. We can't physically reconstruct this. I mean,
Right.
something that's like a quarter the size of a human skull anyway. And
Yeah.
you just can't.
Right.
And someone sent their cat in for a routine procedure that they think is just going to be a dental.
Yeah.
And actually you've ended up having a really kind of harsh conversation saying, we're going to have to let your animal go without you saying goodbye.
Yeah, that
You know?
that would be hard. But we had somebody recently. It was almost the identical thing where we take the pano and I'm looking, I going, what is that? Oh my gosh. So we take the cone beam, and then I'm looking at it going, it's not even attached to the... It was the biggest freaking calculus I've ever seen ever. I want her to come back in for me just to take a photo.
Yeah.
Because I want to do this case just because it's so crazy. Yeah. But it wasn't cancer. It was just calculus.
People are so
just
gross.
Fucking yuck mouth.
One of the most impressive reconstructions I ever saw was the ADI in Manchester. It was the first time I ever went. It was Birmingham, and there was this Italian Max Fax guy done, and it was. Just when you talk about the taking the kind of tibia and everything, this patient had done so much cocaine that her brain was pneumatizing through her hard palate, and they reconstructed the entire thing. And I've never it was
wow,
it was insane. Yeah, it was really impressive. So
holy crap,
yeah.
That's next level.
Yes. That's just a lot of cocaine.
It's a lot of cocaine.
Holy motherfucker.
Her nickname was Pablo.
Apparently it's quite Moorish. I wouldn't know, but it's
wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
First ever patient I had in operative dentistry had cancer. Oral cancer. It was like because we just you spend 4 hours doing a soft tissue exam, and it was he had this big massive keratosis on his bottom lip, and it was like, you smoke? Yeah. Where did your cigarette come out? Oh, right here. And I'm like, oh, right, okay. So it was straight down to oral medicine, and it was and he had it was that. So yeah.
Wow.
So,
Do you ever see like benign stuff? Like we get something we call it Westie jaw, which effectively is like the mandible that just seems to grow really big and get a whole load of bone growth, and it's completely benign, but they just end up with this really big bottle jaw almost because they just end up with like a load of bone there for no reason.
I think that's a British thing.
It's a Welsh thing.
All right, yeah, your Westies here are fine, yeah? You know what a Westie is?
No.
It's not someone from the West Coast. It's a little white dog. No?
No.
Just me.
Just you.
You would have seen one before. It's a little white fluffy dog.
I've seen little white fluffy dogs.
It's one of those.
I'm going to call it a Westie from now on.
Okay.
Every little white dog. Oh, it's a Westie.
You're going to get so many people complaining about that. You realize your inbox is going to be inundated.
I have no doubt. I totally.
There's some ironic merchandise, just a T-shirt with the Westie on it.
So I have a Westie on my ascot.
Oh, there you go. That's really cute, actually.
All right, so we should probably wrap it up. If anybody wanted to ask more questions, how could they find you? Facebook?
Chris Stafford doesn't do any social media because he's
Thank you.
Private
person.
Yeah.
Boring.
Or that's another way of putting it. Yeah.
Chris Stafford needs to get better on Instagram.
Yes, you do.
And promoting himself because he's a fantastic dentist.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. And so, Christina, how would people find you?
They wouldn't.
Okay.
If they wanted to find me, I'd have to kill them.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
No, I'm on Facebook. Standard Christina Stafford. KRY though. That's a bit unique.
KRY. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And then Holly, how would we find you?
I'm at Globetrotter Grub on Instagram.
Okay.
And
where did that name come from?
Because I really like to travel, and I'm a foodie, and I like wine, and I'm just all about all the great things in life.
Which, whilst we're here, I might say that Pondera Winery was amazing the other night.
And Pondera is
so we do have some wine here at our house.
1 or 2 bottles. 1 or 2.
So for those that haven't visited my house.
Also, I want to put a shout out to whoever sent me 6 bottles of Chateau Montelena reserve wine. Not really sure who did it.
So we still not figured out.
There was not a note. I called Chateau Montelena. They would not tell me.
Oh, it was me.
Okay.
I got 3 bottles of bourbon and 6 bottles of wine last week. It was a good week.
It was a good week. Wow.
So
shout out to
whoever
Thank
that
you.
was.
Very, very cool. But we're letting it sit for the next 7 years?
Yes.
All
Because
right.
it's not appropriate to drink yet. But tonight we're drinking Gloria Ferrara.
Is that what we're doing? I thought we had Mark Ryan.
That one's Gloria Ferrara. And then
I prefer this over the Mark Ryan, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Mark Ryan's generally a bigger wine. Mm-hmm. Gloria Ferrara is going to be a little bit lighter. They're generally known for their bubbles. They have phenomenal bubbles. Oh,
that's a fancy way of saying champagne.
But it's not champagne because it's California.
California. Can't call it champagne.
Cannot.
You can call it sparkling white.
There you go.
Yeah.
But if you could ever go to visit Napa, that is a must stop. They have a beautiful winery and vineyard and do great bites, and It's excellent. And then Mark Ryan here in Washington, they do phenomenal reds, but they're bigger reds and they're to lay down. They're not like grocery store drink today wines.
Like Franzia.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not box wines. They're not from WSU.
Okay.
I also feel like before you sign off, you should get like a similar sort of sign off thing, because like originally the shitters thing. Like Chris was the one that found the original sign off for working interferences. He really needs to find an equally cool one for you.
Yeah, I probably should do something like that.
Yeah.
I'm just not cool.
We're cool, but send in your
need more questions. Send the questions in.
Send some questions in.
Can't just all be Clifton Zimmerman or whoever that guy was.
And
He sounds like a loser.
visit our Patreon.
Yeah.
And if anybody out there would like to sponsor us, please let us know, because we will do great commercials, even in porn voice.
Yeah, we can do a lot of porn voice.
Yeah. It's not.
So normally we
don't hear a thing, by the way. Downstairs.
That's why there's 2 floors between us. Let's get it together,
It's like
people.
a
Get
buffer.
it together.
So we normally finish off with the song. So if you were, who's picking a song?
Oh, Christina picked the song.
Oh.
Are we actually going to do that?
Yes.
Oh yeah. What was that one again?
You can't say cunt and
Okay, now I have to
somewhere.
do editing. Actually, I'm
Yeah,
leaving
we
that
actually
in.
done really well not swearing throughout this whole fucking thing. And then
All right, so you can't say fucking Canada. No,
you can't
say cunt in Canada.
you can't, apparently.
Okay. All right. So for everyone else,
It's
I'm
Kevin
Lance
Kevin Bloody Wilson. He's an Australian
like
comedian.
us on everything.
Oh, yeah.
Like us on everything.
on,
and rate and review us.
Rate and review.
Quit being lazy
Find us on
motherfuckers.
Instagram. Find us on Facebook. All the social bullshit. So, yeah. So for everybody else, this is Lance Timmerman. Peace.
Love you.
Last year we went into Canada as part of this world tour, and it was quite interesting because to go to different countries you always got to apply for a visa, and you also have to let them know what you do. And we always chase what we call an R rating, meaning that we'd hate kids to come to the show for very obvious reasons. So we always look for an R rating, and we applied for that in Canada, and they gave us the visa with the R rating on the show, which wasn't a problem. But then one of the guys from the consulate over there, he rang our office in Perth and said, "Look, can you tell Kev that we've given him the okay to go ahead with us, but you can't say cunt in Canada." And I thought, fuck, you can in Australia. Fucking hell. So I thought, well, what a fucking ideal top name for a song. So we opened in Toronto in September last year, and this is the first song I walked out on stage with. You can't say cunt in Canada. Saying cunt's not very nice at all. No, you can't say cunt in Canada. So I asked the Sheilas what they called it. And they said muff, mut, minge, quim, twat, little flower, twinkle, tunnel of love. So if you're going to say cunt in Canada, you got to say it with a velvet glove. And you can't say cunt in Canada. Here we go. No, you can't say cunt in Canada. So I thought I'd better ask the guys. And no, you can't say cunt in Canada. Why wasn't I surprised when they said gash, pussy, poontang, beef, curtain, burger, gateway to her guts? Gateway to her guts. Why was I smoking when I wrote that one? Split whisker, beaver, long eye, front bum, growler, hairy lasso. No, you can't say cunt in Canada, because cunt's considered pretty fucking rude. No, you can't say cunt in Canada. So when I get to Montreal, if you're going to say cunt in Canada, you got to say it in French as well. So here goes Pilaplut, La Conte, President Mitterrand, Pepe Le Pew. No, you can't say cunt in Canada, because cunt's considered pretty damn rude. And you can't say cunt in Canada.